Welcome to Cavan TV's News and Views, Ireland's first live web TV current affairs programme, with over 1.8 million viewers in 214 countries, and we are on a web TV site near you. Good evening, my name is Aine Duffy, and we bring the programme to you weekly on Fridays 7 to 8 Greenwich Mean Time. Each week we take a look at what is going on in the county and invite guests to chat live in the studio. If you have an event you want us to know about or an issue you'd like discussed, well, please email us at drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So, anything interesting going on, please do let us know. Well, this is Culture Night, folks. As you know, it's Culture Night all over the country, and it's a taste of what we do best: poetry, song, writing, drama, trans art, storytelling, whatever. And it's a culture free for all as well. There is something in a venue near you, and this is a taste of what is on in County Cavan tonight. In the literature and music scene, Kilishandra Cultus is presenting an evening of music, song, dance and storytelling at the Town Lake with a barbecue afterwards, and that starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. In the Rammer Theatre, the Virginians, and we have had those people in the studio before their book launch. They are launching their book tonight at 7 o'clock, and at 8:30 a play entitled A Terrible Beauty will be performed in the Rammer Theatre. Cantate, and that's an evening of religious music and song, and that will be in the Pastoral Centre in Cullis at 8 p.m. This will be presented by Paul Flynn, and Paul is the director of the Cavan Singers. And what about this? The Shakings of the Bag, a collection of work by the Pig Executive Group, and that's in the courthouse right now at 7:45. Visual art, Healy Times. That's a tribute to the late Dermot Healy, and as you know, Dermot Healy passed away just there at the beginning of the summer. And this tribute includes video, paint, print and performance, and that is in 61 College Street. That's the hub of the art, the trans art in Cavan Town at the moment, and that exhibition is on all weekend. Please do go and see and don't miss that. Jampiling Buddhist Centre in Bomboy has got a response to beauty, a fragile trust, and this is an exhibition and it's a response to the Burn Park and its beauty, and that's at Jampiling tonight at 8 p.m. More visual in Belturbid Library and Civic Centre. There is a cultural art project by Yvonne Cullivan. That's a screening of 8 short films, and that starts at 7:30. And for drama, go to see The Good Sister by Leah McDwyer. That's in the Community Centre tonight at 9 o'clock. Rehearsed readings of the new play by John McManus, The Anthropomorphism, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Eminem. Now, there's a prize out there for anybody who can email us or text us in about what anthropomorphism means. And that play is directed by Seamus O'Rourke, and it's in the Castle Pub in Belturbid, and I do know the meaning of the word myself. The Hacklers Group have a reading of Abigail's Party, and that's directed by Damien O'Brien, and that's in the Abbey Bar tonight at 8:30. And for more multicultural, there is multicultural dancing tonight, and I think Cavan TV is going out there later, and that's in the Backyard Arts Centre in Mine Hall, and it's got shannos dancing, set dancing, ballet dancing, ballroom dancing, and music there is by Cavan Cultus and the Filipino community, so that would be most interesting to go along and see. Okay, if you want to go see Lisa O'Neill and her new band, go to the Counter Museum right now, and that's in Ballyjamestough, and Lisa starts her show at 8:30. And in the Johnson Central Library, there's a window display entitled Deer Crossing, and that's by artist Mark Lawler, and that's on all day today and tomorrow. There should be something to suit all tastes, so do get out and get to something tonight at a venue near you. And remember, it's all courtesy of the Arts Council in Cavan County Council. Well, what's happening in Cavan this coming week? Well, Saturday, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, the Peddlers, and they are the Postmen on Bicycles, and they're having a charity cycle tomorrow. It's at 2 o'clock, and their charity, they will cycle to Virginia and back. That's 60 k's, and book collection will be in Cavan and Virginia on the way. And of course, you can sponsor a postman, and do sponsor your local friendly postman. You never know, you might get to see Paul Cox on his new bike. The Peddlers are fundraising. They're doing their fundraising for the Annalise Respite House and for CAPS, and that's Cavan Autism Parents to Support. And as you remember, we had Margaret and Kieran Smith in the studio about 2 weeks ago telling us all about that. Please do support when you see your postman up on a bike tomorrow. There's a huge fundraiser in the Errigal House Hotel next Thursday night, and a host of Irish country stars will play. It starts at 8:30. Tickets are €15, and that all goes towards St Christopher's Hospice. Cavan writer Michael Harding is launching his latest book, and it's called Hanging with the Elephant, and it's next Thursday night in the Johnston Central Library at 8:30, and Cavan TV will be there as well. Last week was Suicide Awareness and Prevention Week, and I'm so sad to say that in the news every day we hear more of this. And in the studio we had last week Dr. Tom Pryor, and he was most helpful and talked us all right through what we can do, where we can go and all we can do. And on that subject, to follow on that, the Aware Support Group have a meeting every Wednesday night in the Bridge Street Centre at 8 p.m. For further information about that meeting and the centre itself, please give 086 162 9948 a call. And I think I'm going to call out some numbers there that we did call them out last week. You can get them in any directory. SOSAD, it's got a 24 emergency hotline, and that's the local number for SOSAD is 042 966 8992. And a very important number, and one you can easily remember, and it's a low call number, it's 116 123. So if you feel really low, ring 116 123. And the Aware Support line, the national low cost line, is 1890 303 302. I'll just say that again, 1890 303 302. Well, speaking on health and things health related like that, a good story we've got tonight. I've got Margaret Hopkins in the studio, and Margaret's going to tell us a really good story, and it's all about organ donorship. Have you ever thought about that, folks? Well, anything you ever want to know, and everything you ever heard, and anything you want to know, we're going to talk about it tonight. And Margaret, I'm so glad you came here today. You are a busy lady. You woke up in Killarney, County Kerry this morning. Is that where Killarney is? Yes.
That's correct.
Right. Yes. You woke up there this morning, but you made it back today. And just before we get to what we're going to talk about, Margaret, congratulations. You were very busy today as well. You were with the Active Age group down there.
Yes.
Maybe you tell us about it.
I'm a member of Active Virginians. It's one of the many Active Retirement Ireland groups, and we have over 100 members, and we play indoor bowling, and myself and my husband with his new heart and two other members from the club, Gay Goldrick and Michael Collin, took part in the bowling, and we got knocked out on the second day, but we were beaten by one score each time. We just had no luck. But then I played pitch and putt, and I came second in that. So I brought home a bit of Galway crystal. So
fantastic.
Yes,
and you know what they say, ask a busy woman to do anything, you get it done. Okay, Margaret, I appreciate you coming in today after your long journey and your medal winning as well. Margaret, you have a very interesting story about donation, organ donation, and how it touched your life. Now, you are a very happy married lady of 38 years. We'll get to that in a minute. And you're happily married to Jared. But when did you notice it's Jared that got sick? When did you notice Jared first became sick?
Well, he was only 39, and he played football, he played soccer, he played rugby, he played everything. He was a normal weight. He was married to me and being fed very healthily. There shouldn't have been a thing wrong with him, but he was just very tired of himself and had pins and needles down his left arm, and just went to the doctor, and the doctor said nothing wrong, and went back again, and it turned out he had a 90% blockage in his heart. So we subsequently realised from research that he had a lot of contributory factors. He was a very low birth weight. His mother's health wasn't excellent while he was a twin, and the twin didn't live, so her health wouldn't have been wonderful. And there was a very strong history on both sides of his family. His mother's brother died in his 50s of a massive heart attack, and his father died of a heart attack. So he was bound to have something, and so are all his siblings, something with their heart. So at the age of 39 he had a massive heart attack, and he didn't. They did an angioplast, where at the time it was the technology where they sent in a tiny drill and they cleaned out the blockage, which is a bit like cleaning around an eggshell, and they left it, but then it clogged up again in 10 months, and he suffered a massive, massive heart attack. I do not know how he survived that, but that left him with only a third of his heart working. So if you understand, the heart is a pump, and the heart is just a big muscle, and everybody's heart, if you look at the size of your fist, that's usually the size of your heart, and if you squeeze your fist, that's all your heart does. It pumps blood in one side from your lungs and pumps out the other side back around your body. That's all your heart does. So he was left, and it's a muscle, and it needs to be worked. So if you're out walking and you're not getting breathless, you're only getting fresh air. So you need to be aware that a muscle needs to be worked to keep it healthy. So he was left with only a third of a heart, and being the type of very happy person he was, and being married to me, of course.
And he was a sportsman as well.
Yes, he's a very positive person, and that has stood him in good stead all his life. So last May he had a massive heart attack, but lucky enough, I've been expecting this for the last 20 years. I've watched him.
Can I just interrupt there, Margaret, and ask you, you've been living with that for many years, knowing that his heart was in that condition. And it must have been like, it kind of like...
ticking time bomb.
Yeah, you're always afraid and watching out for him and that kind of thing.
We both did, we got involved with the Irish Heart Foundation, and we did education in schools. I went and spoke in every national school in Cavan, so if I only got one child to not smoke, I feel I've done a good day's work. But it was just, we turned it into a positive, you know, and we educated as many people around us as we could. And now at the moment I'm trying to educate people to become more aware of what a gift to become a donor is. That you're not destroying a loved one, like people are afraid of autopsies, thinking the body will be desecrated. It's far from it. It's like an operation, and they only use the hearts of people who are brainstem dead.
We'll get to organ donation now, and as you know, there is a campaign. There has been a campaign out there, and you'll see the little organ donor cards.
Correct. Yes.
And you sign them. People can sign them and sign them off. But I just get to the myths and things like that, Margaret. People think. Myths where, you know, organ donates, it's only if you die young, and you know, you die suddenly and things like that. Yeah. It's only young people can donate. No. There's certain criteria and all that. But I want to get down to the nitty gritty of how legal you signing your own card, maybe never even mention it to any member of your family, and then upon your sudden death, which can be older or younger. This card turns up, and does it entitle the medical people to take your good organs?
Well, the very first thing they will do is contact the next of kin, and they have very well trained people who will sit with the next of kin, the family, and will very gently explain what's involved. And it's at that point that somebody may remember that the person who's a donor might have had that conversation, or they might have understood, or they might never have known and be totally shocked. And I do understand, and I cannot thank enough the person out there who was kind and good enough and generous enough to give her heart to my husband.
Yes, it's okay. That's okay, Margaret. So, when people do this, and they should realise that you can help a life, it can be a younger person, an old person, and it's not just our hearts and our kidneys and things like that. You can use corneas of eyes.
Yes,
you can give
I have a friend who's had one of them.
Bone.
Bones are fantastic. Ligaments, if anyone has had a really bad injury in a car crash or sports, any human tissue of any kind will knit into another human body much, much more easily than anything any scientist can invent. So why bury it? Why waste all that wonderful, wonderful things? And I say to my active retirement people, who some of them said, oh, at my age, and we have members up into their 90s who are as active and fit, they're of a generation who ate really good food, and they might have much healthier organs than some young people who have a worse lifestyle. And we see obesity is turning up so young, and hardening of the arteries is turning up in much younger people because of lifestyle. Now that we don't have smoking in public areas, you know, why would you smoke? Do you know, that's one of, that's when I...
You made a lovely point there,
yes,
Margaret, about how much maybe just a cornea could change somebody's life. So just imagine thinking, you know, you could save your little cornea that you no longer need.
Yes,
when you
your
pass
eyes
away.
will be closed in the
you no
coffin.
longer need. That will change somebody's life forever.
I have a friend who got one, and he said, before the cornea, I saw the world through the thickest net curtains you could imagine. And after the cornea, I can see colours and flowers and my children and my grandchildren.
Okay.
Now, isn't
so
that
the most
lovely?
thing that people out there are afraid of, they're squeamish, they don't understand, and they say, oh, I don't want my loved one, I don't want my mother, my father, my brother, my son to do that. But how can you, you tell them the positive, how good it is for the recipient. Isn't that the good news? Isn't that the way you want to look at it?
I would love to think that my body would give someone, I'll give you an example. My husband's heart he's 63. His heart, only 20% of the muscle was alive. The rest of it was dead. When a muscle is deprived of blood, it dies. So he only had a third of a heart working for 20 years. He did everything. Once as he was told by the professionals, if you had a tyre in your bike and there was only 30% of air in it, if you took your time, you'd get where you're going. And that's how he lived his life, within limits, and lived healthily and lived positively. But I forget what I was about to say to you. I've lost my train of thought.
When you received the transplant?
But I forget what I was going to say now. I've totally lost my train of thought.
Okay, we'll get to something else, Margaret. Who is suitable to donate? Everybody, because you do not know what your inner organs are like, what your cornea is like. You do not know those things, and the professionals who know those things are wonderfully highly trained people and extremely sensitive to They actually
people.
have a SWAT team when they hear of a
Yes, and the
transplant.
surgeon who did Jared's operation
They fly by air.
is a Pakistan man, a lovely little small man. I'm only 5 foot and he's not much more, and I love him. And he said he knew by eyeballing Jared and by eyeballing the donor that there would be a match, and he's never wrong. And he flew to where the heart was and flew back with the heart. That they are so highly trained and so sensitive and beautiful. And he never gave my husband a hint that the heart transplant was about to happen. So, we were there, Jared was being prepared. The preparation takes hours. It begins at 8 o'clock in the evening, and the transplantation happens at 8 in the morning, the following morning. And all the time up to that, it isn't a go until it's a go. So at 8 o'clock in the evening, we were with Jared. We all came my children are all over the country. They all came, and we waited and we listened, and we had the coordinator telling us, what stage everything was at. The bloods are a match, then the tissue is a match. Everything good so far. The heart, they've taken it out, they've checked it, they've tested it. It has no disease, because that happens. It gets as far, Jared is asleep, the heart is taken out, it's tested and found to be faulty in any way, scrapped, all cancelled.
So you're saying that actually
happened 5 times.
It happened to Jared 5 times?
5 times, yes.
So that you are prepared for that?
But we are prepared that can happen.
That can happen.
And 3 people can be brought down and all put to sleep and all ready, and none can get anything. So he was told, until you wake up and can feel a scar on your chest, you don't know what has happened. Yeah. And Jared was so excited. He was not a bit afraid, and there is nothing to be afraid of. He just said, bring it on, and he's in recovery at the moment now. He's having wonderful physiotherapy with the fantastic people in Cavan Hospital with the physiotherapy there, and he's getting his energy back, and he's on 42 tablets a day and a lot of steroids, and some of the medication he will be on for life are anti-rejection drugs, which actually keep your immune system suppressed, which means then that you are susceptible to any other infection. So for the first 3 months we had to keep him sterile, and that was not easy. And he can never again touch soil, he can never again be near anyone with a cold or anything like that, or a runny-nosed child he can't come near. But these are all things he can live with. And the drugs are wonderful what they can do. So it's a small price.
Okay, so anybody out there and you're wondering just exactly what it is, what you do, we're going to put some information on the screen.
There are a few different ways.
Up on the screen, there's an email to donor at IKA, the Irish Kidney Association, .ie. Text free donor to 550 50050. And also there's a low call there, 1890 543639. And by post there, the free post is Donor House at Irish Kidney Association, Park West, Dublin 12. Of course, log on and you can get that information. Margaret, when people fill in the cards now, I mean, I work in a hospital and I should know this, but I've never actually, I have signed the card, but is there, that you keep that card on you. No
Yes.
copy of that goes to anywhere. So when somebody dies, somebody can't ring up somewhere and say, "Oh,
Well, there's a
no
better
double
system
check."
now. There's
Okay, well, tell us about that. Yeah.
on your driving license now, even with the new driver's license that looks like a credit card, if you have consented to be a donor by ticking the card on your old driver's license, it's a tiny little tick box on the very last page on the very back. They know you're a donor. So your number at the bottom of your new card will have D. So any ambulance crew or any medical person will know, here we have a donor. So please have the conversation with your next of kin, your loved one. Make it known that, yes, I want to be a donor. And know and be reassured.
Have you gone round to schools and tell children this in school?
Well, I possibly will do work like that because I've done it before for the Irish Heart Foundation to heighten awareness about how a heart works.
And also to alleviate the fear and maybe,
yes, and break down
maybe the squeamish
the
factor that people have,
yes.
the ignorance and the fear factor that people
yes.
have. Tell them the positivity, the
yes.
wonderful thing
yes.
that it has done,
yes.
done
and
for somebody
my
else.
husband's heart, even though, this is where I lost my train of thought, even though his heart was so damaged, the valve in it was perfectly working. And there are artificial heart valves. My daughter works in a company that makes them. They are not as good. They do not sit as well in a human body as a heart valve. So Jared's heart valve is now, please God, in somebody's body, and the 90% chance is it's a child's, because they are the biggest, they're most in need, where children are born with faulty heart valves. So Jared was thrilled, and we're thrilled to think that, my goodness,
he got and he gave.
Even though his heart was in such a state.
And on that note, last year there were 284 transplants in the country.
Yes, yes.
And that's covering everything between.
And in America there's so few.
Imagine all those people.
We are higher than America.
Yeah, and I know now, have you ever thought of if anybody, like any donor situations, going, do they go around hospitals and talk to people who actually got somebody who's on life support and they will actually have to turn the life support off? Who would it be there? Sometimes who would it be there that would actually have a word with people, say, well, actually, did you ever think of donation?
Oh, I don't know. I think hospitals are so sensitive to the feelings.
Priest does in the hospital.
I don't know who has that job. The Irish Kidney Foundation might be better equipped to tell you that, but I would like people to know that there's nobody out there beating a drum saying, we want organs, we want organs. There's no one doing that. It's not being pushed aggressively.
And you'd also like to relay the fact to people as well that when you get your loved one back after donation, there is absolutely nothing to know or see, or nobody would know any different.
No,
actually, they could do it on the quiet and you wouldn't know it. I don't mean to be silly.
No,
but
absolutely.
Now, totally
some people have said very ridiculous things to me, like, oh, his heart, oh, he'll be changed. You know, your heart is your essence.
Now that leads me to another question. Has he any inkling of who his donor was?
No, and
where it's from, a man or a woman?
Totally private. They will not give you any hint, and that is part of the confidentiality on both sides. But it is left with the donor family if they should like to know who now remember, not just his heart, the lungs, the kidneys, skin, bone, cornea, whatever that family signed off on is now helping somebody else. So there might be 30 people out there now benefiting.
And they can get a general idea.
Only if the family decide they want to know. Okay. Now my husband wants to thank the people. He wants to write that letter.
Yeah,
and
I've
the
heard
hospital will help him.
Yeah.
Will help him compose it, will help him write it, and they will hold it. And only if the donor family want it, they will get it. But only if they want it. They are totally respected and revered and loved and minded. They're wonderful. There's a family out there grieving at the moment, but I want them to know that they have made my life wonderful again.
So many other people's lives wonderful again.
Yes.
Now, Margaret, you had some very interesting talk there in the beginning. We'll get back to lifestyle. Let's discuss lifestyles in the present day. We're going down the road of obesity in this country at the moment. Leo Varadkar is saying, get up off your ass, people. Get out there, get fit.
No.
What is happening to us? Are we sitting watching television with couch potatoes? What's going on?
Get looking at the food that you're being poisoned with. Read the labels on your food. And the cheapest food is watch the diet of the Hindu people of India, who can live on a penny a day, eating proper whole grain food, proper roughage, things they grow themselves. We're being poisoned, because when I was a little girl, and I had this discussion only yesterday with somebody, I noticed one or two people with pot bellies, and it usually were men who were drinking, and they were known to be drinkers, and they had the little pot belly. I see pot bellies on everyone. And it's not pot bellies. I now see people obese to the point where they're actually disabled. They cannot enjoy life as they did. And I've lost 3 stone myself, partly from the stress of the last year, but also I decided I need to be able to cope if anything happens.
Okay, so watch our diet. But what about lifestyle? Now, in the last year, we've seen an explosion of people out walking and
cycling
on bikes
and
and
triathlons,
cycling and
yes.
triathlons. Cavan is just bursting
And Virginia
with that.
Lake, now they're in it.
Bursting with that at the moment. The message is getting out to us. Do get fit. You know, change your lifestyle.
Well,
not just change your diet.
yeah,
Change your lifestyle,
yeah.
your way of thinking.
But if you are content to sit and do nothing, your body is aging by the minute. If you want to look young, act young. I've just come back from a 4-day trip down in Killarney with 56 teams of 4 bowlers each. Their average age was between middle 90s to middle 50s.
Go away.
And I mean that 90 on the winning team, 4 women, and there was a 90-year-old on it with her 2 new hips. I don't know whether she was on the 2nd or the 3rd set, but she had her walking stick and she was the skip, which is the most important person who throws the last ball, and they won. They did 13 matches, one after another over the 4 days.
But also as well, Margaret, and you mentioned the word before as well, it's about positivity as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have no idea. As your mind leads, your body follows. Think happy, be happy. Think negative, you'll be negative. You put on a frown, nobody's going to talk to you. You put on a smile, someone will smile back at you. That's what I find. We are mirrors. We will get back exactly what we project. And that has always been Jared's philosophy. He's the happiest man I know. I have never known anyone like him.
And you reckon that carried him through?
He lay in a hospital completely motionless with his leg stiff because a life-giving drug was going up through his main artery from his groin, and a pump was doing the work of his heart for 11 months. And he could not leave that one room. This is a man who played sport, who walked every day miles, who loved nature, loved birds. If you had told me he would survive 11 months, I would have said, not a chance.
How do you mentally cope with that?
What he did was, and I'm just in awe of him, he saw, right, I can't do a thing about it, I'll make the best of it. So in came his posters of his beloved birds, his posters of the Cavan ladies team that did well, his posters of the rugby team that did well, his posters of Man United, his Man United jersey, his flags. Then health and hygiene came in and said, there's too much stuff in here, germs.
You can't have a
Yes,
stick.
this
you
is
can't put sellotape on the walls.
So Margaret bought anti-disinfectant wipes and wiped them every day. So we kept them there to keep his spirits up because he could not move. He was lying on the flat of his back.
Do they prescribe any kind of counselling for anybody to cope with having a transplant and the after of it as well?
They do, if they can see that you need it, but it's all patient-led. So if Jared did hit a very low spot, but it was because his body, he expected his body to be much healthier. But I said to him, Jared, you've had major heart surgery. Anyone who's had open heart surgery, having valves replaced or having a lot of stents in, it takes a year after that kind of a big operation for anyone to feel back to themselves. So that's his impatience. It's excited impatience, but I just explained to him, look, Jared, you're hitting a low. Now you're at physio. He's like when he was back training, he's gone off with his kit bag with his other 2 pals, but they had stents. One man had 7. He's lucky to be alive. So because he has stents in, his heart wasn't damaged. See, it's a heart attack damages.
How did you cope yourself with all that? I know that you would have been putting on a brave face anyway, but seriously yourself.
I tried to be as supportive to him by going up to him as often as I could. My daughter moved house and took a 2-year lease on a house near the hospital, so I had somewhere to go and stay if I was needed, so that was wonderful.
such a
and I'm
dedicated
so
mom.
grateful
It's
to
amazing.
her. And my son went in every single day, and some days none of us felt up to going in, and we'd make excuses, but one of us would always go. So he had the most wonderful friends. I thought they were a threat, an infection threat, having visitors, but I realised they kept his spirits up, and I can't thank all the people who went in to visit him enough.
And another question I'd like to ask as well.
And drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
I ended up having a bit of a breakdown after the 4th heart he missed.
Really?
And my doctor prescribed anti-anxiety drugs, and they were grand. Once I took them, then the panic went away.
Okay.
And
have you been
I
able to get
visited
off
him
them
just
now?
once. No, they're only when I need them.
Okay.
And I
Short
just started,
terms.
I just said, Jared, I can only see you once a week. We're only having one date a week. And I need to look after me because I got pneumonia
I
as
have
well.
another question for you, Margaret. How do you feel the country, the state, the health service looked after your husband? Do you think they provided the best, did the best? When you're really ill like that, do you think the state actually does look after its own?
You have no idea until you are ill to see the people now. Like we all talk about the HSE, forget the HSE. Think of the nurses, the doctors, the surgeons, the heart coordinators, the people. It's the people make the system, and the care.
But they can only provide. They
what
can
they're
only
allowed,
give you
I
what
understand.
they're allowed to give. If there's
I think
another
it's
drug and it's the
inhuman.
best drug, and maybe they
Yes,
can't
yeah.
afford that, the budget's out. Do you feel? That's the question I want to ask you. Do you feel your husband got the best?
Absolutely.
Did it cost you
Absolutely.
anything?
We have, no, it never cost us a penny. We have VHI cover, but he could have gone over to the Mater private at any stage if he wanted nicer food. But that is about all the difference he would have got.
So you are happy with the HSE?
We are thrilled.
With the health
He got
service
a level.
on that
He got a level of care next to none, and the
what we
dedication
want to
and
hear
the
as well.
kindness. And the thing is, nobody wants to be in a hospital, but it's the personnel, people who stay past their time that they should be there. Young registrar doctors who have been 18 hours on the go, who stood with him when his kidneys failed and said, you are not dying on my watch. I can't thank that girl enough, you know, and she was just exhausted. But she would not. She felt like they fell in love with him. Like he's very easy to fall in love with because he's a lovely man. But he just is so nice, and he doesn't complain, and he just realises that they're angels, they're wonderful.
So Jared has a new heart now. Now, tell me, does he know anybody in the same position as himself, another recipient? Does he know anybody?
Yes. While he was there, I forget how many now, but I think about 7 people got hearts in the 11 months that he was there. And another man and himself were both prepared for a heart, and the heart was too big for Jared. So the other man got it and went home to his young family. Now, they're allowed to keep in touch with one another should they want to, but it's all again up to themselves. Jared has already asked to be kept in touch. He'd like to keep in touch with 2 of them. A young man came in and 3 weeks later got a heart. And his mother got, you know, she didn't understand the system, and a lot of people I met didn't understand, and they thought, oh, if a heart comes, oh sure, look, you give it to the youngest, you know, it's not fair. That isn't the recipient's decision, because it has to be an exact match. It's the surgeons and the computers match who gets what. It's not like, oh, you've had a great life, you're in your 60s, sure, what do you want with a heart? Give it to a child, give it to a younger person. That's not how it works.
Well,
So-
I'm glad you dispelled that myth
Yes,
today, because
yes.
there is a lot of stuff going out there. And I'd also like to say on that point as well of donation as well. My aunt died recently.
Oh, I'm very
and
sorry.
That's about a year ago actually, and she had cancer. She had lung cancer, but for some unknown reason, she just decided that she wanted to donate her body to medical research. And she got while she was alive, she got in contact with Trinity College, the School of Medicine in Trinity College, and she donated her body, and they did all the things they did. And that enables folks, that enables young students to practice and to learn and to see medicine firsthand, because without that, how else can they do it? Only without donating your body to medical research. So just keep that in mind.
It isn't a gruesome thing, you know.
Not at all.
No, not
It's
at
a,
all.
it's a very
Life affirming.
When everybody heard
Yeah.
that, they said, that's a wow, what a fantastic thing to do. You know?
Yes, yes, that's the attitude.
Mm.
That's the attitude. And you never, and none of us know the day or the hour, that life is precious. And when you're sitting by the bed of someone and you're watching their breath, you know what precious is. You know what precious is. And if it's a little child or if it's an adult, love is love. It doesn't matter. Age has no bearing on it. And we're all precious, and we're all just too good to be sitting there on couches, allowing our body to deteriorate at a rate and age at a rate. I have seen young people behave older than 90% of those I've just spent 4 wonderful days dancing till 12 every night, mind you, and playing bowls all day.
It's a different mindset, really, isn't it?
It is a mindset, and you meet them, and they come from the Kerry Mountains, a sheep farmer woman that was just up the mountains sorting the sheep before she came.
Do you honestly think, Margaret, that we're losing a bit of our natural healthiness growing up because of the change of lifestyle now?
I do.
Because we're not walking anymore, because parents won't allow their children. When I was young, I roamed the countryside riding horses and bikes and everything like that. Now children, you can't go. We left the house for a day, we come back in the evening. You won't let your children out of sight now. They could be in a drain, or it could be kidnapped or whatever.
Yes, well, fear breeds fear, and
so there's a different lifestyle now, and we're changing ourselves because of that. Our lifestyles are changing us. Our bodies are changing. We're not eating healthy food. We're not eating organic food out of the garden as we did.
Yes. Well, I have raised beds. If your back is hurting you, you just buy planks of wood and you raise that earth up 6 feet if you have to.
But do you feel that as a country and as a nation we are losing our sort of inner the healthiness, the good stamina that we had in the past few decades?
I think you have to realise that people think I was growing up in a healthier state than they were. No, I was not. We lived on white bread. We went and stole rhubarb from next door and came out with a bag of sugar, and we stuck that rhubarb into that sugar and sucked it until we had that bag of sugar empty and threw the rhubarb away. I hadn't a tooth in my head by the time I was 13.
Well, at least that's one good, that's one good thing. At least we've got
that
fluoride
healthy,
in the water now.
Yeah.
And most of us have got our teeth.
Yes, but we weren't that healthy. There was a lot of things, people were having their tonsils whipped out just as a matter of course because somebody thought...
Because they hadn't got the antibiotics to cure them then. They can't do that now.
Yeah.
I know you lose on the swings and the roundabouts with medicine and stuff like that.
If you want to be healthy, just make sure that your heart and that you get a bit breathless, and you don't have to be killing yourself doing... It's actually more stressful to be trying to be too competitive. That's just as stressful. It's just as important to learn to breathe, learn how to just know how to bring yourself from a state of anxiety back to a state of calm. Now,
it's also very important, Margaret, as well, and you did mention earlier that people should know their family history.
Yes.
And of course, when you're adopted, when people long ago were adopted and they weren't allowed another family history, it's very important that you do know. And we are predisposed to certain things. We are predisposed to having, it's in the family, as they say, in the family,
But I'm a great believer that your mind rules your body. I really believe that. And I know I won't say a family I know that has a lot of bowel cancer, but they never let go. They hold grudges. They just eat very low fibre food. They've always done that. They are very fond of high sugar drinks, and I think high sugar drinks should have a government health warning on them. There should be a skeleton on the front of them, like beside Domestos. Yes.
Like the cigarettes.
That, just...
Margaret, you're a bit of a celebrity as well. And, I was talking to you today and you said, I've been on the television before, it's okay.
No, I understand.
The Ray Darcy show, and you were up there on Valentine's Day as the lovers of 38 years. Go on, tell us about that.
That was very...
Did you bring any pictures of it?
Very, very funny. Very well, if anyone wants to see it, it's on the Today FM website, and we're known as the Lovers. Ray has put up a page for us, and there's a little clip of me speaking about us. He wanted to know about loved up couples, and I was in bed. I had pneumonia. I never enjoyed an illness like it. Last November when Jared missed a heart. And I got so cold and wet standing with no bus shelter. By the way, CIE, Virginia needs a bus shelter or 3.
She'll be back
standing
next
out
week
in the cold.
She'll be back next week with an issue on that. Bus shelter in Virginia, please.
Yes, they're getting one in Mahara, and we haven't one in Virginia where more people board the bus. It's just crazy. But I got very cold, and I'm prone to pneumonia, and I had it, and I was on steroids. And what the doctor didn't tell me about steroids was that you get an unmerciful burst of energy. Now, he did say to me, take them as early in the morning as you can, or you'll never sleep. But he forgot to say about that. So I was in great form. I never enjoyed an illness like it. And when you've pneumonia, you can't lie down because your lungs will fill.
Yeah.
So I was sitting up and I had the computer in front of me and Ray D'Arcy on in the morning and lovely music.
And you were as high as a kite.
I
really.
was high as a kite, sure. I never felt as good. And he said, now, is there any lovers out there? Next week is Valentine's week. And I thought, oh, come on, think positive. Jared is being
But
positive.
This is in November.
November.
Valentine's week.
No,
in
not November, February. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, February.
You're still on those steroids, are you?
I must be, yes. Sorry, no, I'm not telling you my prescription now.
Okay.
But
well spotted on you.
yes, good girl. No, it was February. That was another missed heart.
Yeah.
But I was sick anyway, and I just said, here, I'll send off an email to him. And I said, we're 38 years married. I met him on my 19th birthday when I left Meath, because the Bishop of Meath wouldn't allow anyone to get married of a Sunday or of any dances on a Sunday.
Is long gone, the poor fella.
And yes, I was my friend. I said to her, that's it. I haven't met husband material now, and I'm 19 next birthday. I'm entering the nuns. And she said, oh God, no, come on, I'll set up a blind date for you. My friend is from Cavan. There's great dances in Cavan of a Saturday night. And I said, okay, but I'm heading to the nuns the following morning. And I met Jared in Crover House at Christy May's Disco Go-Go. And that was on the 8th of December.
There you go. Jared's game was the nuns' loss.
Yes, yes. So he left me home all the way. And this was during the petrol strike. There was the Gulf, whatever was going on down there. There was no petrol in Ireland. There was a lot of people with very badly damaged mouths where they were sucking diesel and stuff, stealing petrol.
That's where the term sucking diesel comes
Yes,
from.
yes, because they'd steal it. You could come out and have an empty tank and have a full one
I
going.
remember my cousin driving, this is out in
queuing up,
Ballina,
yeah.
and going down hills, he used to take the car out of gear
Yes,
to save petrol.
yes, to save petrol, yeah. So Jared,
Dave still does that, he says.
yeah, Jared met me then, and he drove all the way from Crover to Navan to leave me home.
He was keen, he was serious.
And he said he was going to marry me on the way home. He had decided. By the way, love, you never did ask me to marry you. He just said when we're married. I've never had the big
That's a
proposal.
lovely story. I'm glad you went
Yes,
in for the
so
38 years, lovers.
Yeah.
Well, love obviously carried you through. It carried you through the thick and the thin.
Yeah.
And you know what? The way life is changing nowadays, Mara, I just want to say this thing. You marry somebody for better or for worse.
Well, I did.
You
Till
did,
death
and
do
you
us
stuck
part,
with it.
yes.
And nowadays, you see people, you read celebrity people, if somebody does something wrong, I'm not having him anymore, let's get somebody else. And that is disposable. And that is the way it's going. But you married him for thick or for thin, sorry, for better or for worse.
Absolutely, absolutely,
And
yes.
you stuck with it. And that's a lovely story,
my mother
actually.
said, if you don't like your bed, get up and make it. So I have to say, every 7 years my bed gets remade. we knock bits off each other when we get out of trouble, but no,
That's
no.
too much information.
Too
Iris.
much, yes. You mustn't be married.
Definitely too much.
You don't understand.
Your poor
You don't
husband, he's at home,
empathise.
he's going to be so
Cringing,
embarrassed now.
he'll be
She was on
cringing.
Cavan TV telling her a whole love life stuff.
No, he's
Anything
used
else
to me.
now, just before we get off the subject?
No. I think just
You're
remember.
going to have many, many, many more happy years. And one of Jared's fears was that he wouldn't get to see his grandchildren, wasn't it?
Yes, and we've had a lovely new little, my daughter became pregnant during the whole process, and she has a little boy, he's a month-old little Lucas. And
lovely.
Jared then just said, please God, a heart will come and I'll get to see my grandchild. And then it was, please God, I'll get a heart and I might get holding my grandchild.
Yeah.
And then, please God, I'll get a heart and I'll see my next birthday. So he
Yeah.
got to do everything, thank God.
Fantastic.
Thanks to those wonderful, wonderful, kind family that allowed their
And
donor.
you were so emotional about it, and it's a lovely story, and it's great. And folks out there, now you heard Margaret's story. It's a lovely story. The love bits and everything, it's all lovely. But the bottom line is, donate your organs. They are going to do so good for other
So
people.
many.
Things like, like you're saying, bone, skin, cornea of the eye,
Yeah.
valve in the heart, like.
Kidneys,
You just don't have to
lungs,
give everything,
liver.
just give a little bit.
Yes.
So do hold up your card there, Margaret. Show you can get that anywhere. Can't
This
you
is
get
this is the
anywhere?
kidney donor card. All the information, everything I've ever told you is all here. Any questions that might trouble you. If you die, your funeral continues from the hospital where the person dies, so nothing gets messed up.
Nothing gets messed up.
No,
nothing
they're
changes.
so.
What is the window, Margaret, from the person
They've about
passes
3-4
away?
hours.
4 hours to get the
3 or 4 hours.
organs.
They've very little time for the kidneys. They're first. Lungs are next. Heart is next. I don't know. I could be a little bit wrong, but that's my understanding of it.
So it's
But it's all
time is of the ultimate.
Time's of the essence, yes.
of the essence.
Yes. And they don't take hearts. If somebody commits suicide, which is so sad, and selfish.
Can I ask you a question like that? If
Their,
somebody,
their organs are no good
why is that?
because they're dead. They're dead. The organs have to have living blood in them or they start to die. As I told you, when the heart is deprived of blood, it starts to die. Any part of you...
Now that's a medical technical thing we should know about.
Yeah.
If you're, even though you've signed a thing and say if somebody commits suicide, if they're dead, that's it.
That's it.
But
if
anybody
they're
that's
drowned,
left,
if they're...
but if you're left on life support, that's when things happen.
So that critical 1 hour from an accident happens, get that ambulance out there. And I have to tell you something about the ambulances.
And they will hold people on life support. So that
ambulances were coming from Castlebar, Portlaoise, Tipperary to bring my husband every week from the Mater Public to the Mater Private, a walk of 5 minutes. And they were being called those distances to come and do that at a cost of €100 through our VHI each time. That, to me, is a roaring waste of money. He could have been wheeled. They could have wheeled the chair and put an umbrella over him. Do you know that there's some glaring, like we say, the health system. The health system is about the people,
silly stuff
but there is some ridiculous waste of money happening, and that is one glaringly ridiculous one.
Were you ever in contact? Did you ever make any representation? Not that you would have had to, but did you ever lobby any politicians and, you know, to tell them your story, and as you say, tell them that glaring, ridiculous thing going on there with
That's only one of many that I have experienced.
Ever, like, you that's so vocal and able to speak out and first-hand and emotive about it,
I ran for local election for the county council in 2004 as a Labour candidate in my area, and I wasn't elected, and I had no idea how hard it was to get elected, and it was a crushing blow to my confidence, to everything. So I will never ever again
you have
go
to get
as
like a modern day politician.
No,
and keep
I
going
don't
back
have
every
to.
time.
I don't have to.
You wouldn't do it.
My personal health and my mental health is too important to me, and that's why I say with suicide so high, look after yourself. Learn how to know how to bring yourself down from sadness, from dark places. I now have told everyone I suffer from depression, and I've told them, if I start cutting off ties and not calling you back and not turning up for meetings, I'm doing what I do in the months when it's dark. Don't let me. You know, I've come out, and a bit like anyone who comes out of closets, I've come out and said, this is how it affects me. Watch me from the month of November. This is what I will try to do. I will try to cut off contacts. I will try to go into my shell. And I heard Monty Don, the lovely gardener on BBC, saying the same thing happens him in October. It happens me in November. So it's the lack of light.
SID, seasonal adverse disorder.
And you don't know it's happening you. I am now 60 next birthday, and it has taken me this long to come out and say, and it took me 40 years before a doctor copped that I was depressed because I was so good at hiding it. So
and
if you know someone who is really, really nice, if you know someone who's so lovely and so nice and never this and always happy, that's not natural. That's not
I'm
natural.
always happy and
no, you have to have your downs, you have to have your ups and your downs, and know that that is normal. That's what I'd say to people.
But you do. Now tell us about the Active Virginians. You do. Now for people out there who are feeling a bit down and lonely in the winter time, there's no need. No need.
Get out and
get
make
out,
contact.
do things. Join the Active Virginians. Okay, tell us all what they're up to.
Active Virginians are a part of Active Retirement Ireland. It's the largest active retirement group in the country.
Bigger than Positive Age?
Bigger, much bigger, much bigger, and they're nationwide.
We'd like to say hi to Positive Age out there.
Positive Age.
Where are they?
They do a particular remit that's a little bit more like the lobbying type thing, and they're wonderful at that. But Active Retirement Ireland reaches more people in more parts of the country, so it's more widespread. But we're all together.
So if anybody hasn't got an active retireds in their area, what do they do? Look up and ring up and set up
Active Retirement Ireland, find one, set up one. There's nothing to it. And it's not about sitting around knitting and looking at one another. We do that right enough, but
okay, tell us what you do. And
we have a meeting.
Is good too.
Oh, absolutely, it's very therapeutic.
Knitting is very good.
I just so happen to have my socks with me that I'm in the middle of doing.
Okay, so
Hand
knitting
knitted
is good
socks,
as well.
yes, it's
and
very
some men
therapeutic.
knit. There are some men in the closets knitting as well.
Well, you do know Aran
Closet
jumpers
knitters.
were first knitted by men,
Yeah,
by the
closet
fishermen.
knitters.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful.
Okay, so tell us what the active Virginians.
Well,
give
for
us a sample.
example, we on a Tuesday is our day when we meet, and we meet in Virginia in the Protestant little hall. That's where we have our daily meeting at 2:30. We usually do some kind of exercises, yoga, stretching, something, some chair.
Do you
we do
and this new well mindedness? What do you call it? Wellness? Mindfulness. Is the new buzz.
yes.
The new buzz.
Well, we're all very aware of that. We do that. We've done Tai Chi. I do
Oh,
Tai
do you
Chi
know
every
the girls
day.
on the calendar, girls?
No, I haven't seen that. Yeah.
Okay.
I do Tai Chi, and it's a form of exercise that the Chinese done. It was taught to us by a man from Slane, a Dublin man that went to China and was taught by a monk. And we learned that. We do exercises, we do...
You go on trips?
Do we what? We've just been on one, so we have another one to Clare Morris now. There's about 40 of us going to
and
that.
to be very good on the trips now. Yeah.
And
Whatever
we
happens
get
on the trips.
fantastic deals in hotels. Once you've more than 20 people, they do fantastic deals. They'll often provide entertainment for us.
Okay, yeah.
We make our own fun a lot of the time.
Any love affairs, like say somebody was, you know,
Well, I was just thinking, I think that's
Is it a good
where,
meeting place?
that's my forte. I want to start being a matchmaker now, because I've had my eye on a few people now who need and are so lonely.
There's a few lonely hearts in here, in this exact studio here tonight.
Well, there's no need to. It's a pity now that the old dance hall thing went, because after 3 dances and a mineral, you were anyone's. If you said, the way it worked was, if you stayed for the third
Would you
dance,
stay on?
yes, you stayed on
You
for the
stay on,
slow
you'd
one.
had it.
No,
Yeah.
a fast one, then a slow one. Then he'd ask if you wanted a mineral. If you said yes, then you knew you were going home with him. But I wouldn't say yes till after midnight, just till I checked out the talent and who had a car. That was important in the times.
Okay, so you might do a bit of matchmaking in the active.
Oh, I
No,
think
I'm
there's so
serious.
many.
I
No,
am
I'm serious
Margaret. I
too.
am
And there's
serious
an
too,
awful
because-
lot of men that are not coping well with retirement. We have the men's shed now, which has been an offshoot of active retirement. That
we
has
had them
started.
in as well.
Yeah.
And I tried to get out of them what they were at in the
Yes.
shed, but they did tell us they're very
Yes, yeah, no, because everyone has to feel they have a usefulness. That's so important.
good. Especially after you've finished with your lifetime work.
Yes,
You're still
yes,
young and
yeah.
you know, you're still relatively
Careers
young and
change, you change, and your usefulness is always there. You're always useful, even if your usefulness is only that you say hello to everyone you pass. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. And what about computers now with the modern, you know, social media
we're all,
and stuff
we're all
like that?
wonderful at that. No, none of us are twittering. We're not quite sure about that.
But you can do the regular stuff.
And
you can go
Facebook, we
online,
don't quite
Google,
trust it
cavan
yet.
TV and stuff
Oh,
like
absolutely. We're all very computer literate. Most people have their iPads now. You'll get your photo taken mostly by a pad. They'll have a pad. Like, we are the age group with disposable income, so retailers out there, give us good value and we'll spend.
that. Have more money than sense.
We have, yes. We were the grey pound, and we are flexible.
Okay.
But
Well,
we
let's
love
go back.
fun.
I'm very interested in your bit now, where
We have digressed, which is what happens when you speak with me.
we've gone on to matchmaking now.
Yes.
Now, there's the thing I want to throw at you. You know, Christmas is coming up,
Yes.
and lonely, might not be lonely, but single people, first mention of Christmas, and there's only 16 more Fridays to Christmas.
Oh, don't depress us
Now,
all.
that's not depressed, but out there for the single people who maybe feel a little bit left out and feel a little bit, you know, everybody's got parties, everybody has a partner, everybody parties, hoolies and all that, and there's me always on my own, going around on my own. There has to be lots of single people out there, and if somebody just got something together and did
you
something
see,
like
if
that.
you-
Do you know?
I believe in mushrooms, right? You begin with the one mushroom. If you're the one mushroom and you
Tina could
decide,
bring in some mushrooms.
yes, you decide that you're a mushroom and you're going to grow mushrooms, and you decide, right, my little mushroom is going to be, I'm going to have a drinks thing in my house. Mind you might have to have a Rottweiler at the gate for unwanteds, but
Right.
you could just do
Just
one
imagine
thing by
the
just,
carpet. Yes.
well, just say meet a coffee morning in a certain place.
Yeah.
I remember a lady I knew, and she used to have a welcome thing every Friday, and there was no invitations, it was word of mouth.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be
So
recommended
what
by
you're saying
someone.
is, it's somebody's own fault if they're feeling lonely at Christmas. Get out there, put yourself
I don't want
about.
to blame them, but I want to
Put
make them
yourself about.
realise you are responsible for yourself. You are responsible for yourself.
Yeah. So really, no knight in shining armour is going to come knocking at your door.
Oh
and
God,
say,
no! He'll want you to clean the stable. Let him keep his bloody horse. No, no, no! You get your
no
own.
riding horses.
Get your own Segway or some bloody thing. Heck, feck that. Buy skates.
You should start. You know what you should start? You
What?
should start a comedy club. Stand-up comedy. That's it. 5 minutes and make
dear
us all
God,
laugh.
no, I
That's
can't.
a new therapy, actually. Making people laugh, going in and
Oh,
laughing. I saw
gosh,
that on
no.
Nationwide. This group of people
I have
they
a
go
very
together.
quirky way of looking at things.
Oh, have you a quirky way of making people laugh?
I have, and it's ridiculous, and it borders
Please
on
tell.
rude all the
Does it-
time.
You can handle rude.
It always involves bodily functions of one sort or
Okay,
another.
whoopee cushions.
No, laugh real loud and you will fart.
Or laugh till you fart.
Yes, that's exactly because
So
if you
folks, you
laugh.
see it first on Common
Yes,
TV.
that's
the
what
first,
you do.
The first lesson of
Where did
laugh
we
till
get-
you fart.
Where did we get from hearts to farts? I don't know.
Have a happy heart. Laugh till you fart. Okay, that's enough of that. We're gone ridiculous now, but we're laughing.
Yes.
Okay. Other activities now when you're okay when you're
Yes,
no,
when I'm
you
in
do
my
a bit of
normal
bowling,
self,
normal
yes,
stuff,
yes.
sensible stuff. Okay.
Walk first. If you can walk.
Yeah, walk. Go out and walk in the woods. Bring your dog a walk in
It
the woods.
brings
I
serotonin
I
into
walk
you.
and I talk in the
Yeah,
woods.
yeah.
Please God, nobody sees me.
No.
Because I do talking like mad in the
No,
woods, talking
your
to
brain,
the trees and stuff.
there is research now that your brain has two forms of thinking, slow and fast thinking. There's a
Oh.
wonderful book out there called Slow and Fast Thinking. And the slow thinking is when you have to think of all the other more difficult things and all the other equations that might be involved with it. But as humans, and television promotes this, where first thing to your mind you go for. And that's how public opinion gets manipulated as well, because we are lazy, we're sheep at heart. You know, what's the other fella doing? Oh, that's grand, it looks okay, I'll follow that. You know, what's in vogue at the moment? Watch expose. Oh, excuse me, is this, if you record as I do a whole lot of them together, you begin to notice trends are in and back out within 4 weeks. You know, but all it is.
I would think that older people have got that
We've got a
stuff
lot
out
of
of their
savvy.
system.
We've a lot of
out of their
savvy.
system, out of
Yes.
their system.
Yeah.
Well, I love your life. I love your lifestyle, and I'm sure your husband is sitting at home watching you and going, I told her not to say all
Oh no,
those
he'd be
things.
cringing. He'd be cringing. God bless him. I don't know
But
how he
she don't-
suffers it.
I won't tell you what she said before the show. But anyway, Margaret, you are an absolute inspiration. You're a happy person. You just beam
I
happiness.
am when I'm not depressed.
No,
Yeah.
you beam happiness. And thank you so much for coming into the
Thank
studio
you
this
for
evening.
having me.
Telling us about your story. Tell us about your story and your husband's story. You told us about how important it is to donate organs.
Yes,
You dismissed
yes.
a lot of the myths.
Thank
Put us
you.
straight on that. You were a breath of fresh air. You were a whoosh of fresh air. And we wish you all the best. And
Thank
keep
you.
all those people up in Virginia active. And thank you so much and the best.
And thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that's it for this week. And as you know, and as I've said at the beginning of the programme, it's Culture Night. There is so much going on in County Cavan. There is something going on near you. Check the paper out, check out your little brochure. Go to something good tonight. And that's it for this week. Have a great week. Enjoy the good weather while it lasts. And see you next Friday, 7 to 8. And do take care.